They are now calling their game a digital theme park. But at least they're admitting there's nothing to do. On the 21st of March 2025, a press release was made by the European Commission, and the title read, "Commission and national authorities take action to protect children from harmful practices in video games." But the title was not the problem. It was the first paragraph that got everyone's attention. Coordinated by the European Commission, the Consumer Protection Cooperation Network (CPC) has launched an enforcement action against Star Stable Entertainment AB to ensure a safer, more transparent experience for players of the Star Stable online game. From this, there has spawned a lot of videos, concerns and fears that this could mean the shutdown of Star Stable. Now, at first I was going to read through this article, but Flickrs, a good friend of mine, also sent me a document, and it's the document that is the more interesting part here, because the document dives into everything that the CPC believes Star Stable is doing wrong, and so we're going to unpack it. They even include screenshots. Today I'm going to go through this document to explain some key points and give an idea of what exactly is going on. I'll also add some context for how we got to this point and where Star Stable could potentially go from here, and of course what it does mean for them. But before we dive into that, I'd like to thank my Ko-Fi supporters for being more awesome than this piece of fan art. I got fan art, and it's adorable, and I love it. Please go check out this artist's Instagram. She's amazing. Thank you. On with the video. This whole situation started on the 12th of March 2024 after the Swedish Consumer Association submitted a complaint to the Swedish Consumer Agency about Star Stable. That is a mouthful. But the Swedish Consumer Association is a non-profit group who kind of look out for the consumers of Sweden. You can learn more about the original complaint here. I did make a video on it and did cover the complaint overall. Now, after the initial investigation, they concluded that there was, and I quote, "the existence of reasonable suspicions of widespread infringement," and have decided to launch a coordinated action against Star Stable Entertainment on 25 April 2024, end quote. I'm going to be saying quote a lot in this video. Now, they identified a lot of issues and concerns that go against the EU consumer protection law, which included direct exhortation toward children, misleading practices related to in-game virtual currencies and prices, practices pressuring children to purchase virtual items by exploiting their vulnerabilities, and influencer marketing. It's at this point that the Swedish Consumer Association shifted all of this over to the CPC. The CPC, or the Consumer Protection Corporation, is there to protect consumers as well, just in a broader stroke. They are the spearhead of this whole operation, and they enforce the EU Consumer Protection Law, which is the law that is supposed to protect consumers. Took you a while, but this is where the term enforcement action comes into play. In this press release, they make it clear that this is an enforcement action, meaning the regulations are being enforced and Star Stable now has to respond to fix these issues or pay a hefty fine. We'll get into that. Now, the CPC network would contact Star Stable Entertainment about the problems, and they would ask Star Stable to provide quote-unquote clarifications about the problems they had identified. However, the CPC would also launch their own investigation, and along with the assessment and information from Star Stable, which was received on the 17th of September, the CPC decided that shit was going down at the company. And this is where this document comes into play. The first point they tried to determine was the following. Does Star Stable Online cater to children, aka anyone under the age of 18? They determined this by looking at the products and determining if it was used by kids, if it is appealing to kids, if it addresses kids, and if it is designed for kids. With all of that in mind, they decided that, yeah, Star Stable is aimed at kids. No shit. Star Stable is also recommended for kids from the age of 7 years old on Google Play Store and from 9 on the App Store. So yeah, they are aiming their products at kids. No getting out of that, Star Stable. And all of this is kind of ironic because Star Stable has been systematically wiping their game of anything that is not kid-friendly, much to the dismay of players, and now this has come to bite them in the ass. I am very much enjoying this irony. Moving on. The document briefly explains why kids in particular are so vulnerable. In the last video I did cover this briefly, but the point is basically that kids can't really differentiate between an ad and a game. They see them as the same thing. On top of that, they don't have impulse control, and they can't be critical about the content they are consuming, meaning they can't determine if what they are buying has good value for the price. Their brains be peas, little pea brains. The article also says that kids find it difficult to resist pressure, but they will expand on this later. For now, let's get into the actual juice. And the first point we're going to look at: direct exhortation to children. and I quote, "The UCPD does not impose an outright ban on advertising directed at children. However, it is prohibited to include direct exhortations to children to buy advertised products or persuade their parents or other adults to buy advertised products for them." End quote. So, they're fine with ads, but it's how those ads are made that raises concern. They do give some examples. Check it out. For the new Baroque Dressage bundles, get 30% off Star Rider. Buy now. Don't miss out on these amazing offers. Hurry, check it out now. The problem they have with these types of ads is it directly tells kids to buy. It places a pressure on them. Now, of course, it doesn't tell them directly, go ask mommy for money, but kids, as explained in the previous section, can't differentiate between just an ad and a pic. They take this stuff seriously. They will listen to ads. So when an ad tells them, buy now, it's not a suggestion, it's an order. And guess who does have to pay then? Mummy! But this pressure is not only found in ads. According to the CPC, this pressure is also found in the game itself, specifically with training. Now, in the game, we have trainers whom you can pay to train your horse to a higher level. The only way to pay these trainers is to use star coins or premium currency. The higher the level, the more it will cost, and the higher the level, the better the horse will perform in races. Now, the CPC explains the problem like this, and I quote, "It is clear from the gameplay and information provided by Star Stable Entertainment that it is important to ensure that the player's horse reaches higher levels in order to perform better in the video game. The Horse Trainer pop-up presents consumers with an offer to quickly level up their horses without playing their way to progression. The offer is therefore particularly appealing to children, and through the game design it is perceived as a direct exhortation." End quote. This is technically borderline pay to win. It just skirts the edges though. But this is a sort of pressure that is placed on children to ensure they purchase star coins so that they can keep up with other players. This can also be seen with the vet in-game. If you have not taken care of your horse in a while in the game, its mood will drop and it will perform worse. You can pay the vet star coins in order to bring your horse's mood up. Another way they do this is with stable care. They charge you star coins so that someone can take care of your horses so that you don't have to log in every day. It's not as bad as the leveling, but it is still the pressure placed on players to spend star coins. That was a lot of P's. Basically, what this comes down to is part of your gameplay experience is being hidden behind a paywall. Because I use the vet, I then can't buy an item. I can't use the trainer because I want to save up for a horse. It's another way to place pressure on players because we're constantly deciding what we sort of can afford and can't afford. That's very frustrating, especially for kids. Now, I know some of you are aware that Star Stable has added workarounds for this sort of problem, but we will get into that later because that sort of goes into the response from Star Stable. But let's move on for now. Now, the next point they bring up is aggressive practices towards children, time-limited events and offers. In this section, they talk about double star coin weekends, festivals, and limited time events. Basically, this goes against the UCPD because it places, once again, pressure on people to buy and it makes it difficult for kids to make decisions. They explain it like this. The use of behavioral biases or manipulative elements relating to, for instance, the timing of offers within the gameplay, such as offering microtransactions during critical moments in the gameplay, pervasive nagging, or the use of visual and acoustic effects to put undue pressure on the consumer when playing can be considered as an aggressive practice, especially when it comes to vulnerable consumers such as children. I just want to point out here for a brief moment, just pausing, I mentioned this in my review for Wild Shade, where I said that the sound effects make it so tempting to keep clicking that gamble button. It's so borderline gamble. I just want to add that because this shit has been so pervasive in mobile games, it's not even funny. But yeah, just quick pause there, moving on. Now, specifically, they talk in this section about festivals. In Star Stable festivals in particular, we have seasonal currency you can collect to buy items, or seasonal tokens. We have limited time events that you can take part in, like with the Winter Village that is only open during the Christmas season. And we usually have limited horses that are connected to the season. So for example, the Winter Festival have horses that you can only purchase in the Winter Village at Christmas time. During that time for Christmas. The problem with this, as stated by the document, is, and I quote, The CPC network considers statements of time-limited offers to be intended to put children in a pressured situation by giving the impression that the child has a very limited period of time to make up his or her mind. In addition, studies show that scarcity and urgency alter consumers' perception of the product's value, since they believe that it will be more difficult to acquire in future. End quote. They further expand that the marketplace, for example, is made very attractive and fun and makes kids want to be in the marketplace, like with the bazaar. And it might make them go on a shopping spree. Hee hee. They also further expand on the social media element, saying that these specials and exclusive content on social media, like Instagram, creates a further pressure and makes kids feel like they're missing out, which just preys on that classic fear of missing out, FOMO. And all of this is true. In an article from Cleveland Clinic, they explain that FOMO can make people feel terrible about themselves by seeing others doing things they want to be doing or enjoying something they want to enjoy. They feel like they're missing out on something profound. When Star Stable advertises its newest horse model or tag set, intentionally or not, kids are going to feel that FOMO, and they are going to react emotionally. FOMO can have physical manifestations as well, from stomach aches, headaches, heart palpitations, and even emotional distress. FOMO can seriously screw you up. But the manipulation psychology in Star Stable does not end here. We still have to look at star coins, which lead us into the double star coin weekends and the Star Riders. Now, just briefly, star coins are the premium currency in the game, and horses can only be bought with star coins. The biggest reason to play Star Stable are for the horses. You level them, race them, take care of them. Most of the gameplay is locked in the horses, which makes sense as Star Stable is a horse MMO. Now, the horses' price range from 350 star coins old models to 950 star coins new models, and this means each and every coat will also cost you that amount. So, if you want a black horse and a brown horse, you're gonna pay 1,900 star coins to own both. Yeah, that's a lot of fucking money. Now let's talk about why premium currency is suddenly such a huge issue in games. Premium currency creates a disconnect between the item and price of the item. Basically, people can't really determine how much they are paying for an in-game item when premium currency is a stepping stone between the two. This comes down to psychological manipulation, and we have all experienced this in one way or another in online games. It's called the pain of purchase and how companies try to trick you into buying more. Buying anything is painful, especially when we feel like we've overspent on the item we wanted. If, for example, you buy a cool game today and next week it's on sale, the game's value will become skewed and your enjoyment of that product will be less. What game companies do is they try to avoid this feeling of loss and try to focus more on the feeling of gain. When you use premium currency, you don't feel the pain of purchase because you're using the currency to buy the item, not your money. This tricks the brain into thinking you're not really wasting money on items, you're just gaining them by exchanging it for this weird, strange, magical currency. And you can only use this fake currency in this game, so why the hell not? If this sounds bizarre, it is. But it is a damned effective way to get people to buy more and more. Another way they get you are with packs. So they don't let you buy a specific amount that you need. You can only buy a pack. And usually you have to buy a big pack or bundle of premium currency, meaning you're going to have premium currency left over. This has a twofold effect. Firstly, it means you have currency left over, tempting you to buy something else. And secondly, the next time you want to buy something, you're already part way there. So you might be swayed into buying a smaller pack because you don't need the big one anymore because you already have all of this extra currency. And this is where the sunk cost fallacy begins to take hold. Essentially, the more money or time or emotion you put into something, the less likely you are to turn away from it. If you have sunk over $100 into Star Stable, then why on earth would you play another game? You have already invested $100 into Star Stable, and the fact that you have the option to just spend more means you can effectively balloon your sunk cost problem. Now, I do think that Star Stable is not as bad with the packs, as they have always allowed players to buy a set amount or the amount that they want, but they still lean into the psychology that buying bigger means you're saving more. So they are subconsciously still pressuring you to buy more, because we are more than likely to buy larger to save money. Human psychology is built to screw us over. Point of all of this is that Star Stable utilizes these manipulations to ensure players will continue to buy. And before anyone shits themselves over the fact that Star Stable needs to make money, I'm not saying they shouldn't. The CPC is saying they shouldn't. So bite me. That was a joke for those wondering. But yeah, I do understand. Yeah, Star Stable does need to make money. And free-to-play games often rely on microtransactions to stay afloat. Oh, wait. You say that Star Stable is not a free-to-play game? That you have to pay $80 to get access to this game? Wow, that is so surprising. Especially since they act like a free-to-play game. That was not a joke for those wondering. But the point is, premium currency is not there to make your life easier. It is there to manipulate, and the CPC agrees. Also, the fact that you have to plop down $80 for Star Stable means that you are already in the sunk cost fallacy long before you have ever porked over money for star coins. Now that we understand the problem with premium currency, we can now look at the next part of the document: the double star coin weekends and Star Riders. This was mentioned a long time ago, but there's a lot to cover here, so bear with me. So for context, double star coin weekends are events where you get double the amount of coins for the same price. And Star Riders are just paying members. So you can be a free member where you can play up to level 5 and not get any perks further than that. Here are a list of things that you can and can't do as a free member. It clearly shows that being a Star Rider is far better option than being a free player because everything is so limited as a free player. If you want to be a Star Rider, you have to buy the game, and that, as I said, can go up to $80. And then you have to buy star coins to purchase all of these delicious things in game, because you don't get enough star coins to buy everything. If you are a Star Rider, you will get 100 star coins weekly. But the problem is, as the document points out, you have to save up for 9 or 10 weeks to get a new horse, especially one of the newer ones, as they say, and I quote, "Given the overall design of the video game and marketing on social media platforms described above, which creates pressure and drives consumption of in-game items, the CPC network considers that there is a major risk that after becoming a Star Rider member, children will not wait 9 weeks to save up star coins to buy new horses, such as the Norika, 900 star coins, only available to players from level 6. i.e. not accessible for non-Star Riders. So there's just another extra little block for you, preventing you from enjoying the game if you're not paying. God, Star Stable. Now, I will say they do make an error here. They say that you can use Jorvik shillings, the in-game currency you accumulate through quests and races, to buy a horse, but this is absolutely not true. You can only buy a horse with star coins. Some items are available for Jorvik shillings, but this goes out the window when you realize that the Jorvik shilling cap is at 10,000, and many of these items cost 9,000 Jorvik shillings. It's just another way to put pressure on kids to buy star coins. And I shit you not, Star Stable says they can't change it because of the in-game economy. I just want to point this out. There is no economy. Players can't trade. There is no auction house. Star Stable controls the economy. And they just decided, nah. The fuck? Can someone explain this to me? Furthermore, even if you wanted to use the star coins to buy items that you get weekly, many of them cost around 100 star coins. So you can buy 1, maybe 2 items a week, and then you can't buy a horse in 9 weeks because you've already pumped your money into an outfit. And a whole outfit consists of top, pants, gloves, boots, helmet, saddle pad, bridle, and leg wraps, and sometimes a bow for the tail. Yeah, that's gonna take you a fucking while if you also want to get a horse to go with the outfit. And what is also sneaky is whenever there is like a bazaar or an event, they usually time that with a double star coin weekend to pressure kids even more to buy. Like how this went on for 10 years, I haven't the foggiest, but let's move on from this before I have a hernia. The next point they go into is star coins, and basically how they are breaking the law by not respecting European consumer laws. They briefly cover that star coins can be purchased for real world money on the SSO store, mobile store, and the global store. But then they say this, and I quote, "According to Star Stable Entertainment, available in currencies including star coins are in-game items and, I quote, not a digital representation of value. The CPC network does not agree with this assessment," end quote. Okay, so what is going on here is that the CPC is arguing that star coins is a digital representation of value because you buy it with real money. You use it to buy items in-game, and that means it must comply with the European consumer legislation, which includes ensures the customers have clear information about their purchases, prohibits misleading or aggressive business practices, requires price transparency and fairness in how products are marketed. So, more transparency, more information, and no aggressive business practices. At this point in time, it is impossible to determine how much I am really paying for a horse. Because, let's say I bought a 5,000 star coin bundle. Then if I then buy a 900 star coin horse, I won't be paying technically as much for that horse than if I bought a 1000 star coin pack, which then means I'm basically paying $30 per horse. Because of this, it pushes people to pay more in the bundles. Like I said, it's a pressuring manipulation tactic. Basically, they now have to state next to the item what the value of the item is in real money. What this will mean are that parents will be able to make a clear decision on what they're spending real money on. Basically, the psychology that they are using to trick the brain into avoiding the pain of purchase is going to die out. And now they can decide if they want to spend $30 on something better than a pixel phony. Now they also say, and I quote, the price should be indicated based on what the consumer should have to pay in full for the required amount of in-game virtual currency, without applying quantity discounts or other promotional offers. End quote. They have to give totals, clean prices, they have to be honest in how much a single star coin translates into real-world money, and then they further state, practices that obscure the true cost of products are likely to be considered misleading or aggressive, thus being prohibited under the UCPD. End quote. So that just kind of reiterates everything that has been said. Star coins are part of the aggressive marketing, and they are a means to manipulate kids into buying things they might not have had they understood what they were paying for. Now the next quote touches on the psychology effect that we have been talking about, and I quote, and again, I'm quoting a lot, the CPC network is of the opinion that paid in-game virtual currencies complicate purchases by adding another conversion step between the spending of the real-world money and the purchase of in-game items. This can blur the true cost of in-game items and cause consumers to overspend compared to what they otherwise would have, or be left with unusable amounts of in-game virtual currency, which in turn encourages additional purchases. End quote. And then they further state, the CPC network considers that there is no reason why the price of SSO's in-game items should be unreasonably difficult to calculate. Although consumers may acquire star coins in different ways and quantities, this does not impact the price of the in-game items themselves. End quote. So, there you go. SSO is going to have to show how much these item costs. I am damned curious about how much it's going to be, because how are they going to translate that? We're gonna finally see how much a horse costs. I am so curious. But let's get into the one I really want to talk about. Influencer marketing. This section opens up with the fact that past violations are also on the table. So even if they change everything right now, it's not gonna matter. Enforcement will be enforcing. According to the document, the CPC network considers any paid content creator working for Star Stable Entertainment social media to be an influencer, meaning when they promote the game, they must comply with the consumer protection laws. Star Stable needs to make sure these influencers clearly disclose paid content, as again, they're aiming their content at children, meaning kids are getting bombarded by ads and they don't even know it. What I found really funny is they show an example of how sneaky these content creators are. All of these are ads. There, right at the bottom, there you can see a teeny little tiny ad. Like what? Also, shopping sprees, a staple in Star Stable YouTube content, where players go off and buy a lot of taken horses with hundreds, thousands of star coins. These were not made by happy content creators on the spur of the moment, they were made to advertise the game. Like, holy shit! So more than likely these content creators got the star coins from Star Stable, did not disclose that fact properly, and went on a shopping spree, preying on that FOMO and manipulating kids into buying star coins. Out of everything that I am angry about, I am the most angry at this, because it is so fucking underhanded. At the bottom of this press release, they link another article called Influencer Legal Hub. This is a sort of guide for those who want to be influencers, but also advertisers. And here we see what they train people in. Specifically, we're looking at point 2. Influencers as advertisers. European consumer law already states that advertising, including brand partnerships on social media when you create content in exchange for products or services or affiliate marketing, must be disclosed. Now, to be fair here, the content creators did technically disclose it. They would put tiny little hashtags in their post, or they would just hide it out of sight with the read more button, and the CPC just says, you need to be a lot more open about this shit if you're affiliated with SSO, and if you're being paid to advertise their products. Like, what the fuck? I also want to just add to this that in 2022, Kim Kardashian paid a $1.6 million fine for a paid crypto ad because she didn't disclose that she was paid to make that ad. So I'm just saying, Star Stable can get hit with this. This is the biggest one. Like, actually, out of all of these, this one's actually weirdly enough the biggest one for me. But that is where the document ends. Now we're going to look at all the changes Star Stable has been implementing to combat this, because yeah, the changes are already happening. The Dragon horses were not exclusive and not time sensitive. They have now begun to give old horses back to players who ask, which they had never done before. They are giving out free star coins, and they have been doing so for the last year. You can already see changes being implemented on the social media. They're not as aggressive anymore. Look at the way they stated here, buy now, and here they're like, oh, you know, just come check it out when you have time. And then we have the sudden influx of consumables. Remember when we were discussing the vet, the trainer and the stable care? Well, they have finally given players a solution that does not include buying star coins the whole time. In the last year, they have added potions to their game, which allows horses to level and to boost a horse's mood, and to give players free stable care without coupons. These potions and coupons were never part of Star Stable, and suddenly they're everywhere. It absolutely is nice for the players, but it also absolutely is a response to this investigation. Good! We are already getting a better game out of this. I'm very happy. So some of the changes we're already starting to feel, and nothing is hurting players. It's really helping players, and that's really the point of all of this. The CPC is not trying to cripple Star Stable or hurt them or hurt any of these games. These changes are being implemented to help players navigate the psychological manipulation tactics these companies apply every day to get you to give them money. You can find dozens of studies, articles, and even tutorials on how to manipulate your players into giving you money. And this has been normalized. We have been conditioned to believe that being manipulated is normal, that having gambling in our games is fine, and spending thousands of dollars on premium currency is perfectly alright. And it's not because we really believe it, it's because companies have made us believe it. They've normalized it. When people complain about SSO, inevitably there will be someone who says, yeah, but X game is so much worse. And that's the problem. The fact that Star Stable is not the worst game out there, that there are companies that are even more exploitative, more manipulative, and more brazen is actually kinda terrifying, because Star Stable ain't no basket of roses. And there are companies far, far worse. The first that comes to mind is Star Equestrian, a slot machine dressed up with pretty horses. People spend thousands of dollars on this game to get a horse with wings, and the amount of time they tell you it's just for a limited time or you need to hurry is shocking. They bombard you, well, kids, with this shop the second they step into the game, reminding you every time that you can purchase more. They encourage kids at every turn. Hey, you wanna buy? You need a faster horse. You wanna buy? And it's continuous. Always pressing, pushing, forcing, getting you to buy. And then I can hear people screaming in the distance, but you don't have to buy. It's optional, but kids can't make that distinction. That's the entire point of this document. No matter how much we say that mantra that it's choice, kids don't know that. It's a psychological warfare, and finally someone is fighting on the side of the customer. So will these changes kill or hurt Star Stable? No, but they will make the game better for players. And I think that is something that we can all get behind.